live on YouTube as well.
Okay.
Welcome, YouTube family. Welcome to our live. Welcome to Golden Conversations. All right, let me send you an invite, Dr. Edwards.
Okay. Okay. I've joined.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Can you see me?
I see a wave, but I'm not seeing it on the live. I need to get you in the chat.
I think it's in.
Okay, let's try it one more time. Sorry, guys, apologies for the technical issues. Just want to ensure that everyone is able to. Okay, let's try it one more time. Sorry, guys, apologies for the technical issues. Invite. Okay, so I've sent it to you again.
It says accepted. So,
Send a request. Go live. Okay, so we're now going live. Okay. Okay. Why am I not seeing it pop up on IG?
it said that it's been accepted.
Okay. Sorry, folks, but we're having a bit of technical issues trying to sort out this live. All right, I think it's better for us to do it again. So I'm going to end it.
Okay.
And go again. Because I don't know what happened. Do this again. Come technology, work with us. Ah, people on YouTube want to get going. Come in, YouTube family, we're coming. Got the invite?
Yeah, I sent it. It says requested.
All Or is somebody saying that the feedback is powerful? Okay, Instagram family, we're so sorry, but we will have to cut Instagram for today's live because for some reason it is not working with us. Instagram is not working with us today, unfortunately. So for persons who are not able to see our video, we're asking you kindly to just jump over to YouTube. I'll put the address in the live. Golden Designs on YouTube. Sorry, family. Okay, Dr. Edwards, how are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Okay, we will have to turn off our phones because there's going to be feedback.
Your phone is off, so you're fine.
All right, great. So welcome everyone. Still getting the feedback.
Is it on my end?
Sounds a bit like that. Welcome, Golden Designs family, to another Golden Conversations. Thank you for being here with us. We are excited because it's always good when we talk about career planning because career means so much to us. Career brings out our purpose, it brings out our aspirations, and of course, it put money in our pockets so we can do the things that we love to do. So thank you for joining us, and we're going to put a little spin on it today. We're going to talk about career after retirement or career preparing for retirement. Oftentimes we talk about career at the young people level. Most persons would have gone to career days at school, career functions, trying to find what's that unique career for you as you go into adulthood. But today we're going to talk about career preparation and careers after retirement. And with me is the most knowledgeable person you can find when it comes to career planning. She is an HR academic. If you don't know what that means, I will tell you. It means that she has an academic background in human resources, and she's also a practitioner when it comes to human resources. And she actually did her PhD with a little bit of it being focused on workplace aging. We're going to get into that some more. So she's going to tell us about some of those things that came up in her PhD that is so relevant to our seniors and relevant to our world today. And we'll also dive into workplace balance, what it means to have cohesiveness between the youth and the seniors working within the workforce. So Dr. Malaika Edwards, she, as I said before, HR practitioner. She has worked in various roles, managing different areas of HR function. This girl, she look young, but she has been in the streets. She has worked at different sectors such as bauxite, manufacturing, finance. As I said before, she is a academic. So thank you so much, Dr. Edwards, for taking your time out to come and talk to us today so we can bring some light and some discussion to the topic of career planning.
Thank you so much. I like this introduction. It's really
You're
nice.
welcome.
But yes, I'm Dr. Edwards, Malaika Edwards. You mentioned my PhD. I have a PhD in human resources and leadership development. And for my PhD dissertation, for my research, my area of specialization is actually workplace aging. So what I focused on was not just workplace aging globally, but I specifically looked at workplace aging in Jamaica, in the finance sector, and looked at what we call organizational preparedness for the aging workforce. So what I did was to explore what companies are doing to prepare for the aging workforce, to prepare for persons who are approaching retirement or have retired. I also looked at things like what the government is doing to prepare for the aging workforce, and then also looked at older workers and their perspective on what organizations are doing, what are their thoughts on how organizations are preparing for those persons like themselves who have actually retired or are approaching retirement. So I am a academic. I worked in HR for over 20 years. So I'll age myself, maybe more. And I'm also an assistant professor. So I teach in the business school at a college and I teach undergraduate students in human resources. So that's a nutshell, and my area of specialization is aging.
And when she says that her background is Jamaica and abroad, you need to understand that Dr. Edwards is currently working with a university out of New York. So the experience is not only within the Caribbean, but it's
Sure.
also within the Big Apple, where so many persons, so many of us really want to go to work. You mentioned though, Dr. Edwards, about your research and
Mhm.
looking at workplace aging. Can you just give us, in a nutshell, very briefly, what were some of the major findings in your doctoral study that was interesting for you and that persons who are within the senior cohort would find interesting?
Okay, sure. So typically, when we think about workplace aging and how organizations are preparing, the general feeling or the general research shows that some organizations are not prepared for the older workforce. So just to step back a little, we have an increase in the number of older persons who are in the workplace, and that's for different reasons. Some persons don't want to retire. Some organizations don't want people to retire. Some people don't enjoy retirement and so they want to come back. Findings from my particular research show that there are some organizations who are proactive, recognize that we have an aging workforce, and they're putting things in place to prepare themselves for the older workers who will exit. And they're also putting things in place to ensure that there is business continuity. In everything, we find that some persons will be ready, some persons aren't. And I found that there were some instances where some organizations were saying, I know that we have persons who are approaching retirement, but we're not quite ready. We haven't yet sorted things out. Either we don't know what to do or we just have not done it yet. So it's different. Some organizations were ready, were making preparations, putting preparation in place, and others were not yet at that level. But that's not unique to Jamaica. That is something that we find happening globally. It just depends on sometimes leadership, sometimes how many persons are retiring. But it really is not just a one size fits all. Some organizations are actually putting a lot in place to prepare for older workers.
Okay, so let us start solutions. What are
Mhm.
your top three suggestions
Mm.
that workplaces can do to prepare for the older generation or the older adults?
So when I think about preparation from an organizational standpoint, I think about business continuity. So when someone is approaching retirement, it means that they may, in essence, be leaving the organization with a lot of skills. You might have been working in the company for 20, 30 years. You are going to exit that organization with those skills. My initial recommendation to an organization is don't lose those skills. So the top recommendation is to put things in place to ensure that you can retain that knowledge. So either it is A, you're going to retain the employee, don't allow them to retire or ask them to stay on with you for maybe a short-term basis, or B, do some kind of skills training, do some kinds of transfer, have succession planning, so that if and when that employee exits the workforce, then the knowledge that employee has is not lost. So from a business standpoint, the organization wants to ensure that they can continue operating effectively and retain skills that the person would have had over 20, 30, whatever number of years. So that's the first thing in terms of retention. Another thing that I would also recommend is that organizations are open to the thought of re-entry. So even if an employee has already left the workforce, that's fine. We can bring them back. And then the third thing is how we can build partnerships so that even if we take our minds from just a business standpoint, how do we help our employees so that they can become or maintain themselves post retirement? So it's three different things. Two from the business standpoint, but also how we help our individuals, our employees so that they can continue to be functioning and contribute to society, contribute to their lives, even after they've left the workforce.
Okay, okay, great. Because oftentimes we may think that those skills that are so valuable, it may not be valuable now, and those skills are still relevant in
Mm-hmm.
today's workforce. And it's so important that we have those skills that the seniors would have garnered to actually pass it down to the younger persons. So not to jump ahead, but because we're
Mm-hmm.
on this topic, how
Mm-hmm.
can we create that balance? Because young people want work,
Yes.
but our older adults can still contribute to the workforce. So how can we create that balance, that sweet harmony within the
Mm-hmm.
workplace between the young and the older?
I think the initial point is, in some instances, as you mentioned, younger persons might want work. And there is this feeling that if an older person is in the workplace or stays in the workplace, then it is taking away work from a younger person. To get to that sweet spot, we have to think about collaboration. For me, that's an important word, and how it is that we can have young persons collaborating with older persons. Mentorship comes to mind in the sense that young people might feel that there is no opportunity for them if an older person is in the workforce. But if we can create opportunities for partnership where young persons and older persons can do things like working on projects together, then that will allow both parties, regardless of age, to work together and to contribute to the workplace. I think about things like reverse mentoring, and
Mm.
that gives a young person the opportunity to coach an older employee. So typically the mindset is older persons will coach younger persons. But if younger persons are given the opportunity to coach older employees, then it kind of minimizes this feeling of, oh, we don't want an older person here, when the thought process can be, I want to work with an older person because I have the opportunity to teach them, or I want to work with an older person because I have the opportunity to learn from them. So the collaboration and the partnership are things that I emphasize heavily because there's so much value in terms of having everyone work together, as opposed to this mindset of, oh, let us have the older person leave because it is going to take away jobs from me, right? So it's just a thought process of how we can partner and work together.
So the mindset is very important then, and being open-minded to
Be, yeah, so there's this culture and that thought process that says we don't, when you get to a certain age, you must go home. When you get to a certain age, you must come out of the workplace, or people can take away the jobs. It doesn't have to be that way, because if you think about it, when someone gets to the point of retirement, a lot of persons, they still want to work, fine, but they don't necessarily want to work 5 days a week in a heavy, stressful environment. So if you think about the fact that an older person might just want to work for 2 or 3 days on a part-time basis, then it gives the younger person an opportunity to do all of that heavy lifting that they want to do. And all they have to do is be guided or to partner with an older person. So it's not, the mindset doesn't have to be, let's ask or get rid of older persons. The mindset can be, how do we work together so that I learn, so that you learn, and that the business benefits? Because at the end of the day, those are three umbrellas that are extremely important. And then people want to like enjoy what they're doing. People want to enjoy life. And if we work together and collaborate, then there's more opportunity to do that instead of having this hostile environment. I don't want him here. I don't want her here. Things of that nature.
and an important aspect of that, Dr. Edwards, that we need to point out when it comes to workplace aging is that people are living longer
Yes,
with
yeah,
faculties intact.
exactly. So the
A
beauty of it.
60-year-old 50 years ago or 60 years ago is not the same 60-year-old today.
It's not the same 60-year-old. I have colleagues who I work with who are in their 70s and beyond. Initially, the thought process would have been, oh my goodness, you're 70, why are you at work? These are persons who are bouncing. As you said, medicine has been good to us, life has been good to us, and at 60 years old, like some persons are just getting that wind and just getting started. And for me, I think that's so exciting. So life is changing. So it doesn't have to be this initial thing where, oh, you get to 60 and you're old. No such thing. 60, 70, 80, whatever the case might be. Medicine and life and just different thought processes, exercise, different foods, it's allowing us to live longer. And that's also why we have so many older persons in the workforce, because people are living longer. And that's another reason why we have to embrace older persons in the workforce. People are living longer, and so they have to work. And even if they don't have to work, they want to work and they want to continue to contribute. So that's a good point. People are living longer, and so our thought process towards aging is going to have to change, and it has started. But there's still work. There's still
Okay.
work to be done.
Still work to be done, and this conversation is a part of that work.
This is a part of that work.
to
Yes.
assist the process. I see
Yes.
the
Yes.
question coming in the chat. We soon get to the
Okay.
question, but I want to get from Dr. Edwards the point about preparing for retirement, because we don't want, when our seniors get to retirement, get to the age of 60, 65, 70. That is when they are saying, oh my gosh, what should I do now? What sort of upskilling? What sort of career change can I do now? We want that preparation to start from, I would say, age 40.
You know, I think about the when it starts is a good point. So age 40 is fine. Some parts it is debatable. Some because God's will, as long as we have life, we're going to get to that point, right? So when to start is debatable. 40 is a good age, but then so is 30, so is 25. It's just that what you do at different stages is what counts. So the level of work that I have to do at 45 is not going to be the same level of work that I have to do at 25. And certainly if I've gotten to 55 and not yet started, then I have to kind of crank up and do more work than if I was 40 years old. But in terms of preparation, some of the things that I tell persons is think about what you want life to look like when you get to the point of retirement. Just like make an outline, what do I want to do? And think about that and then start to put things in place. Do I want to continue working in the kind of environment that I'm working in? Do I want to turn a hobby into a business? Do I want to just travel? What do I want to do? And then when we decide what we want to do, then we can put plans in place. So I'll share with you, for instance, that I had a situation where an employee was working in an organization as a driver, approaching retirement. And the question comes, what do I do to prepare because I'm getting to that stage? And what that employee did was to recognize that I have these skills, I've been driving for this organization. Let me turn that skill into a business. And so he took his money, purchased a vehicle, purchased a bus, and he now has a transportation business. So when you talk about preparing for retirement, it is looking at what do we want to do, what do we want life to look like, and then putting steps in place. So for an older employee who, for instance, might not have a lot of skill set, depending on where they were working in the organization, go back to school. So I tell the person, it doesn't have to be go back to school like register at UWI and go and get a degree. It doesn't have to be that. It can be go and learn a skill that can turn into a business. So we have a lot of facilities that can provide that kind of training. If you need to go and
Definitely.
learn how to do interior decorating, cooking, whatever it might be, do something like that. Do
And
that
that is
through
still,
the
and
course.
even being self-employed is still contributing to the workforce.
It's contributing to the workforce. So there's so many things to contend with. But it's contributing to the workforce, but you also want to prepare. So if you have that time before getting to retirement, when I think about the school, for instance, use that time to go back to school, short-term course, whatever it might be, get that skill so that when you get to the point of retirement, you already have that skill set. While you are working, start getting your clients, start building up your portfolio so that when you've exited the workplace, you already have those skill sets in the pocket, you've mastered them or you're working on them, you're honing your skills, you've started to build up your clientele. So the preparation before retirement is it's a lot to do if you depend on when you start. But if we think about those different steps and what we want life to look like, and we put things in place in terms of getting those skills, going back to school, learning whatever it is that we need to learn, or even speaking to our organization to say, yes, I'm approaching retirement. What can I do after retirement to continue working on a short-term basis? Those are some of the things that we encourage or I encourage persons to do before they get to the point of, oh my God, I'm not ready and I have to leave next year. And then the panic sets in. We don't want the panic.
No panic. Valuable words of encouragement, Dr. Edwards. I pull in a question now from
Mhm.
YouTube from Sassy.
Okay.
She wants to know regarding your doctoral studies and if there was any know-how in terms of organizations and how they were preparing for the aging workforce with as it pertains to technology. So if there was
Okay.
anything that came up in your doctoral studies as to how organizations were preparing for the aging workforce in terms of technology.
Sure, I can speak to that. So, in one organization in particular, that company did something that I thought was fabulous, and they provided skills training for employees who are preparing for retirement. So, the point I have to make is that organizations, which we all know, have different categories of employees. So, employees who are working at the supervisory and managerial level above, we might not have that issue where technology is concerned. So, the organization in my study would not need to look at those kind of employees to develop technological skills. In one organization, there were employees who were approaching retirement who were non-managerial persons who may have operated as an office attendant, for instance. In that instance, what the organization did was to partner with an external training body that we have in Jamaica, and that training body actually provided skills training for the employees. So that is at least one instance where they were making preparations for the aging workforce. So I did see that in one company. I did.
I want to piggyback on that question. In explaining to us your doctoral studies, you said you looked at what the government was doing. Can
Yeah.
you provide some insight as to what the government is doing, specifically speaking to Jamaica and the Caribbean in terms of what are government policies, programs that are being implemented to deal with the aging workforce?
Sure, I can speak to that. So, a number of governments in the region, just like throughout the world, recognize that the population is aging and recognize that we have to put things in place to ensure that although we are aging, process can still function. In some Caribbean islands, and I can speak to, for instance, St. Lucia and Cayman, what those islands have done is to revise their age of retirement. So instead of saying that the person is at age 60, they should leave, those companies, those not companies, those governments have said we're going to revise the age of retirement so that persons will stay in the workforce longer. Locally in Jamaica, when I was doing my doctoral studies, then that was part of the mandate of the government to look at also revising our age of retirement. 60 for women, 65 for men. The thought process was that we would move everybody to age 65 so that we don't have women exiting the workforce. And I want to make the point that we have instances where women are exiting the workforce sooner than men, but to the detriment of the female of women who are in our population, because a lot of women are breadwinners. And so when we ask them to exit the workforce early, then there's a severe financial impact on those women. Governments realize that there's an impact on women who have to exit early. Also, because a lot of women in their younger years would have been dependent on their husbands. If we also ask them to leave the workforce early, that's another impact on finances. So to answer your question, yes, the government is looking at, and some governments have already revised their age of retirement. In Jamaica and other Caribbean islands, there are policies that are put in place, aging policies, and these are policies that speak to how it is that we interact with and take care of our aging workforce. In Jamaica, we have the National Council for Senior Citizens, and that council works heavily, which you would know, Shailen, with the older population, putting things in place, providing
Great
skills
counsel,
training.
great counsel. I had to put that statement.
Yeah, they're doing an excellent job. So putting things in place so that when persons leave the workforce, they are equipped to move into that new stage in life. The council also, in terms of what the government is doing, to a lesser extent, and I'm not like being a mouthpiece for the council, but sometimes there are job opportunities. So somebody who has been working, for instance, in an administrative role, the council may have opportunities for that person, and they can also help them with career, with getting new jobs, with getting a job. So governments are doing things, revising retirement age, and also putting policies in place. And to know the policies are not just career related policies, but these are aging policies generally, and just how we interact with older persons in our society, whether it is healthcare, um, basic necessities, things of that nature. Policies are being put in place and already are in place to meet those needs.
All right, so we talk about the government.
Mhm.
I would love for you to give some pointers to our private sectors, because oftentimes within private sector, the job is so much entrenched on targets, performances,
Mhm.
and the money that an employee is bringing into the organization. So speak to our private organizations within the Caribbean as to how they can be more open-minded to the aging workforce, especially in a time like now when our workforce is so dominated by social media and online platforms. And if you're not getting jiggy with it on Instagram and TikTok and YouTube, then it seems as if you won't be able to get a job. So how can private sectors be more open-minded to the aging workforce, to retirees, so we can have more retention of those skills within the private sector?
All right, fair question. I think for me, I think the disclaimer or my based on my experience is that the private sector is actually welcoming to older workers. So I will say that I find they are welcoming, and I find that there are strategies being put in place in order to facilitate retention. And the reason is that it benefits them because they want business continuity. No organization who wants to maintain themselves and to be viable is going to be happy to see skills leaving the workforce. And that's what happens when older persons leave. So, where social media is concerned, and I go back to the point I made about reverse mentoring, there's an opportunity for private sector organizations to look at how it is that they train their employees. So if you think about social media and the fact that younger workers tend to probably be on social media more than the older workforce, that's an opportunity for the private sector to do partnerships between the older employees and the younger employees so that the younger ones will teach their older employees how to use an Instagram, how to use a TikTok, how to use LinkedIn, whatever the case might be, so that you can have those persons retained in the workforce. So I kind of pause because I don't know that they are not making preparations. It might not happen quickly. So I'll speak to that. It may not happen quickly, and not everyone is doing it. But there are things that's happening. I certainly saw that. There are strategies for retention, there are strategies for rehire. So I have seen where organizations allow their older employees to come back in and work on short-term projects, come back in, work for 3 months on a project, come back in and work with us for just 3 days a week, work between just 9 and 12, work between 2 and 4, whatever hours. There's a lot of flexibility. So I take a point, there is work to be done, but there are things that have started, certainly from what I have seen.
Okay. What is your vision? And I'm leading up to my final question as we're about to wrap up, families. So if you have any more questions for Dr. Edwards, please hurry up and send them in because we're going to wrap up in a few. I want to look at Dr. Edwards. What is your vision for an aging workforce? What do you want the aging workforce to look like as it pertains to our older adults?
What I would want, one, I would want a mindset shift. So I want, and as I said at the start, God's willing and we all get to that point. I want to know that if and when I get to that point, and if I still want to work, then there's opportunity for employment. My vision is that someone who wants to continue working is given the opportunity to do so. And my vision is that if you don't want to continue working in the formal sector, but you want to create something for yourself, that you are equipped with the skills and the knowledge to be able to do so. So my vision for the aging workforce is continuity. My vision is not to leave the workplace and to go home and to sit and to become bored and to reminisce on what was. I want persons to catch that second win or third win, whatever it might be, and to continue contributing to society. And it's self-actualization. I want them to continue working to develop themselves. So my vision is a workforce where, regardless of your age, if you have skill set to contribute, if you have knowledge to contribute, that you are given the opportunity to do so, and that you're bold enough to accept it and to take it. And I want the older workers to be open to these new opportunities. You mentioned social media. Be open to a social media if that is what the new segment of your life is going to look like. Be open to learning a new skill if that's what the new part of your life is going to look like. So my vision is a robust aging workforce contributing to the society, contributing to organizations, building their business if that's what they want to do. But my vision is not that someone is going to go home. If you want to go home and relax, then that's fine. But I don't want it to be that you're doing that because you have to or you are forced to. It has to be that you have decided that this is it for you, and that's fine. But if you want to contribute, my vision is that you should be given and you will capitalize on opportunity to do so.
Okay, not that you're forced to. I love that.
Mm-mm.
That's such a
No,
good nugget. Not that you are forced to, but you
I don't want
want
to
to.
sit first. If I want to stay home, then fine. Stay home and relax and enjoy life. but it shouldn't be that I want to work and I'm not given that opportunity. That part I can't subscribe to.
Okay, wonderful. My final question. Give us 3 short points
Mhm.
for our current retirees, our current members who are older adults.
Mhm.
Three pointers that you would give them so that they can remain as active participants within the workforce.
So my first point is if you're not on social media, I'm going to jump on that. Get on social media. And I'm not saying get on social media like to get on TikTok. LinkedIn is social media. I'm saying go on a platform like LinkedIn, and if you need to network on LinkedIn so that you can remain marketable, then do that. My second thing is to be open to online and to remember that now the pandemic has, made it mandatory, but before online was still viable. The second thing is to be open to working online and to remember that online doesn't mean just Jamaica. So there are countless opportunities if you are willing to work in the online space. And then third,
You'll be earning not in Jamaican dollars, but in foreign currency.
and that's a plus, right?
Yes, I had to drop
That's
that
a
in.
plus. Yeah, that's a plus. And then the third thing is to be open to new areas. So although you might have been working in whatever sector before or whatever business before, be open to trying something new because you don't have anything to lose at this point in time. So those are my 3 things that I would leave with anybody who has already retired, but they want to get back in or make themselves marketable.
So one, jump onto social
Jump
media,
on social
preferably
media.
LinkedIn.
Yeah, I recommend LinkedIn because it's a career-oriented platform,
I
and there's a
agree.
lots of opportunity for networking. And also, if somebody wants to gain skills, you have things like LinkedIn Learning, so somebody can gain skills and take a course. So be open to social media, be open to online, be open to a new area, a new skills area, a new career, and see where that leads you. And make yourself viable. Like revise that resume. So dust off the
Yes.
resume, make the resume look relevant, make the resume reflect to all the work that you've been doing. Work on your resume, work on the interviewing skills. Reach out to somebody to help you with the resume if you need to. Reach out to somebody to work on with interview preparation. Apply for the jobs. I've given you 5, and then you can and prepare
Thank
for
you.
prepare. Yeah, I went over, so I'll stop. So those are my top. That's the top 3, and I added 2 more: the resume and the interview.
Okay, and nothing is wrong with having a career change at age 70.
Nothing
Nothing
is
is
wrong. I
wrong.
think it's fabulous if you do that. You've already done something, you want to do something new. Now is a perfect time. Nothing is wrong with it.
Yes. Thank you so much, Dr. Edwards, for joining us on this week's Golden Conversations. It was lovely talking to you,
Thanks
and
for
I'm
having me.
hoping you're welcome. And I'm hoping that the persons who are online and who will actually see this as delayed broadcast will actually take your pointers into consideration, not only as an individual, but hopefully persons who are working within government, within private sector, those wonderful pointers that you gave us as it pertains to how we can create that balance, that
Yes.
we can see a better workforce that is so loving and also encouraging to both the young,
Regardless.
yes, and the senior.
Mhm.
So all the best. Thank you all for joining us. We appreciate you. Thank you, the Golden Designs family. Thank you, Golden Designs team. See you next time on another Golden Conversations. Take care, everyone. Have a great evening.
Thank you.